Hello, Assalamualaikum. Good morning. Salam sejahtera. Welcome to the webinar on cycling in the tropics organized by the GTSC project in collaboration with ITDP Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the delay. There's some technical problems at our side, but we hope we appreciate your patience, and we hope that you're here and to join with us in this webinar. So, ladies and gentlemen, my esteemed guests in this webinar, my name is Muhammad Afiq bin Zamri. I am one of the program managers for the GTA LCC project. I'm your host for today. So if you have any questions during the presentation or during the Q&A session, you can post your questions in the Q&A panel. As participant, you can see it on the right hand side of your screen. You can post your questions in English and also in Bahasa Malaysia or Bahasa Indonesia. We hope we can answer and address your queries. So before we start, I would like to also explain and promote about the GTA LCC project. Okay. So for a second, I'm testing the screen. Does the slide move? Is the slide moving? Sharing my screen?
No.
All right. Okay, just to share with you, the GTSC project is a 5-year project. Began in 2017. The long title for the project is the Green Technology Application for Low Carbon Cities. This is a project, a strategic project by UNDP and the government of Malaysia. It's funded by the Global Environmental Facility, Jeff, and the lead consultant is Sustainable Energy Development Authority Malaysia. So the objective of this project is to remove any barriers to low carbon planning and urban development in Malaysia. There are already agencies, ministries, local authorities working on low carbon cities in Malaysia, but we come in and we identify the barriers, the challenges faced by them, and trying to help according to their local context. So, so far this component is this project consists of 3 components. The component 1 is policy. Component 2 is awareness and capacity building. Component 3 is pilot projects. So why we are doing this webinar on cycling is to promote one of our initiatives, which is low carbon mobility. And why cycling in tropics? Because we want to listen to the challenges faced by tropical cities, which is in this region, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, Thailand, and the ASEAN region, and other cities experiencing tropical climate. And we want to listen to stories. We want to listen to stories, initiatives, successes, and challenges in promoting urban cycling. And to inform you, already have 3 cycling initiatives. Number 1 is the Office Shared Bike Program. Office Shared Bike Program. Number 2 is the cycling lane initiative in Putrajaya, where we want to study the best cycling routes to connect Putrajaya Central to the core island. And the third one is the bicycle ramp at the 2 bridges in Putrajaya, the Sri Saujana Bridge and the Sri Wawasan Bridge. This is one of the small ticket items that we want to help to facilitate and promote cycling in Putrajaya. So we have 3 speakers today. We are trying to get one. Mr. Indra is trying to get in the webinar. Our speakers today, number 1 is Ms. Fani Rahmita from ITDP Indonesia. She's the Senior Communications and Partnership Manager at ITDP Indonesia. We have Mr. Indra, a cycling enthusiast from the city of Surabaya, Indonesia. And we also have Mr. Gregors Raymond. He is a bicycle commuter and a green building consultant based in Kuala Lumpur. So now we pass the presentation of the webinar to Ms. Fani Rahmita. I'll share her presentation. Ms. Fani, if you could share your screen, your presentation, or all right, I'll put it here. Okay. Okay, I'll send it. Okay, Fani, you can begin.
Sorry, I can't hear the audio. Is it on? I can't hear.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay, so I will start from the beginning. So hi, I'm Fani. Good morning, everyone. I'm from ITDP Indonesia. I am the senior communication and partnership manager, and also one of the PIC in cycling project for ITDP Indonesia in Indonesia. So first of all, I want to thank the GTLCC, SEDA Malaysia, and also UNDP Malaysia for inviting ITDP Indonesia to this webinar and have a discussion with these interesting topics. And also, I want to introduce or giving probably an introductory about the ITDP itself. Kok gue nggak bisa? Oh, okay. So this is ITDP, the Institute for Transportation and Development Policy. We are now in our 35th year actually, and we work in 7 countries. We start working for Indonesian cities in 1999. We are actually providing a technical expertise for cities in the world, how to have managed the transit, the urban transit development in the cities. Our expertises including the BRT system, non-motorized transport, which is walking and cycling, and then TOD, transport demand management and sustainable urban design. And this is what we do in cities in Indonesia. We involve in the transit integration in Jakarta and several cities like in Medan and also in Semarang. and this year in Bandung. And then we also have cycling programs in Jakarta, Medan, and Bandung. And we also involve we have programs with urban village residents, and also with the NMT, the pedestrian project in Jakarta. So I think we all can agree that this webinar is actually being held because this one most frequent answer for a question, what prevents you from cycling? So as we all know, and probably most of us experience it, it's because the weather is too hot or the weather is too humid. I mean, this is a fact. I don't want to like judging people because people will like directly say that it is lazy reasons or things like that. But actually, it's a fact. It is the weather is too hot. The weather is too humid, and I'm experiencing it myself. And yes, we live in tropical cities. That's why it one of the reason why it makes people to like not choosing bicycle as their transport modes. But then we actually found an interesting numbers and data. This is my colleague compiling these resources from several sources. So about the bicycle usage around the world. So we divide it into the subtropical climate zone cities and tropical climate zone cities. And then there are two questions pop up when we see these numbers. The first one, why some tropical climate cities have more people ride on bike than their counterpart in the subtropical climate zone? As you can see, like Delhi have 12% and Bogota have 6% bicycle usage. And then when you see the subtropical cities, London is only have 2%, New York State only have 1%. And then the second question is, why do some cities in relatively similar climate have huge gap in bicycle modal share? As you can see also in the screen that Amsterdam have like 27%, and compared to Rome that only have like 1%, it's a huge, is really huge gap in bicycle modal share between the cities that includes in subtropical climate zone. So we are trying to digging. Oh, okay. The images is disappear in here. So I think, but you can. This is actually a comparison. We're trying to compare what is what went wrong with the model, the number of the model share in Roma and in Amsterdam. Maybe as you all know that Amsterdam is like the heaven for the cyclists. They have a very proper like it's practically all the roads is for the cyclists. It's all the bike lane, a proper bike lane, and they have like a very abundant parking bikes in like every corner of the cities, and then also it's very easy to access the city, the bikes. And then when you go to Rome, there's actually not sufficient bike lane. In total, it's only 133 kilometers of bike lane in Rome, and then the access to the bicycle track is kind of difficult, and the parking area is also not properly provided. And then we see the cycling in tropical climate cities. As you can see, or probably most of you know that one of the best city in tropical climate city that successfully have cycling culture infrastructure is Singapore. And we tried like to have a lesson learned from Singapore and what we can learn from cyclists in Singapore. So actually, for cyclists in Singapore, the hot weather or the humid weather is not the main problem for them. It's actually the wet weather or the rain season, because it's very dangerous for the cyclists because the motorized driver couldn't see them, and then also they have to like bringing their umbrella while they're riding their bike. So for them, it's not the hot weather is the problem for cyclists in Singapore. And also they have like a very well infrastructure, weather protected, segregated cycle track. They have showers, locker room, and wide and shaded cycle track. So the highlight is that climate can be one of the factors, but it's not the one to determine people's willingness to cycle. So how about Indonesia? Yeah, we had our heyday back then before 1920s. Actually, large cities in Indonesia crowded with bicycles, and even it's like the symbol of the prestige of elite groups in cities like Batavia, or we know as Jakarta right now, in Semarang, Yogyakarta, Surabaya, and Medan. But then the value of bicycle declined when the motor vehicles entered the Dutch East Indies, or Indonesia that we know right now. And the recent events that actually also can picturize on how bicycles is really like cycling it happens in Indonesia. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a significant increase in the number of cyclists on the main roads in Jakarta, and even in several cities in Indonesia, where all the bike workshop filled with people who want to repair their bikes and even buy the second-hand bikes, and even the store also filled with people who want to buy bikes because of this pandemic. And we have a number in one of the road in Greater Jakarta. It's actually increased to 10 times the bicycle user, the cyclist, or we can say it's 1,000% before the pandemic. And so, what is who is the faces of cyclists in Indonesia in normal days? So not during the pandemic or not even before the 1920s. This is actually the basis of cyclists in Indonesia. Actually you can meet them in daily activities in every cities in Indonesia, like the coffee seller who sell his coffee and using the bikes to selling it to the workers in the cities. And then also we have a cracker sellers, and then we have a bread sellers who still using bikes for economical reason. And then we have students that cycling to go to school, and then we also have the bike messengers. So this is actually what we found in urban villages in Kampung Kota movement in Kampung Kota residents in the city of Jakarta. So walking and cycling activity in Kampung Kota or in urban village are dominated by female and children groups. And the cycling has been used by female group to go to the market, and children group use the bicycle to go to the school and play with friends. So if you go to the urban villages in Kampung, in Jakarta, and even in other cities, cycling is actually one of like the most used mode transport for the women and for the children. It's very common to like meet them in the road, in Kampung Road. And this is a student cyclist. Actually, it's also like pretty common to meet them in the way of they are going to school, but because they rarely getting appreciation and even attention from the cities and also from the schools, so we are not talking about them that much. And then we start a program called Sekolah Ramah Bersepeda, where we found this one school in southern Jakarta, that have a 40 students who are actively cycling to go to the school. It's about like 10% of the total of the students, 3 to 5 times a week, and then they're riding the bike. With the distance from their houses to the school is from 500 meters to 1.5 kilometers. And because of there's a lot of the students that using the bike, the school then provided a parking lot, a special parking lot for the students' bikes. And then through the program, we invited a sponsor to give incentive to the students. One of the incentive is the sponsor gave each student brand new bikes, and it boosts the number of the cyclists, the student cyclists, from 40 to 70 cyclists of students now in the school. And also the bike messenger, it's the business is actually growing pretty good, because one of the biggest operators, West Bike Messengers, now already have like their own apps, and the reachment of their delivery is getting wider. And then they have this IBMA, Indonesian Bike Messenger Association. So basically, we can find these bike messengers not only in Jakarta but also other cities in Indonesia. The Instagram is actually compiling all the operators. So as you can see that we have courier bike messenger in Bali, in Yogyakarta, even in Tangerang and in Bogor. So if you curious if they providing service in your city, you can go to IBMA Instagram. Okay, so after like all slides that I presenting before, I think at this point we could agree that weather is not the only reason. Even in cities like in Indonesia, actually we have an existing cyclist that the mobility is even like depending to the bike with the bikes. So I think we now in the point to where we on how we can shift the focus not just like seeing the problem of cycling in tropical cities is only because of the weather. So this is actually like my curious statement, because in a country where the development focus on providing facilities for private motorized vehicle isn't starting the construction of like pedestrian and cyclist facilities based on pedestrian and cyclist number is a little bit unfair. I mean, every time we want to like proposing about how about if we develop a bike lane or even a pathway, the question is always like how many people that want to walk or want to cycling. But I mean, like if we can use the same logic when the official or the cities developing highway or freeways, it means that they are providing the roads, inviting more cars to come to use the road. Why don't we use the same logic to the bicycle and pedestrian facilities? Why don't we like develop the infrastructure to invite them, to invite more cyclists, to invite more pedestrians to use the infrastructure? Actually, this is a picture of the governor of DKI Jakarta who is trying to cycling in Jakarta. So and then from there we are actually trying to propose the cities to have a protected bicycle lane. We started last year with trial bicycle lane. We have like 3 phases of the trial. So this is actually the numbers where we start the phase and how the average usage, it's actually increased the number of the cyclists and also the average usage. I think is one of like the data is one of the proof that when you providing a proper facilities for the cyclists, it's yes, they will come and they will use it, and even they will come and they will use it. Yes, I think it's my ending statement. And then people often like only focus on bicycle lane when talk about the infrastructure for the cyclists. It's actually not only bicycle lane. We all, cities also have to provide more parking lane, more parking for bikes in the strategic places like public transport, and then provide the bike through the bike sharing programs, and then you can also like allowing people to bring their bikes to the public transit to like shorten the distance, and basically it's to make the cyclist or the person more comfortable, easier for them to use the bike. That means you are inviting them to use the bike, and even more in tropical cities, you need to like providing more facilities like a shower room and also a bicycle lane with a shade. Name it, the trees, a canopy, everything. Because again, weather is yes, is one of the reason why people don't want to use the bike in the first place. So just provide what the needed, what the people needs for them to like more encourage to start cycling. So back to my presentation title is an urban cyclist amidst Indonesia. The answer is actually a question. Do you want more cyclists in your city? Because if you don't, urban cyclists in Indonesia will remain a myth. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Fani from ITDP Indonesia. So we quickly change to the, we will have a Q&A session at the very end, but still the audience participants can still send in your Q&A to us. We shall view it and compile it for the Q&A session later. So now we shall go to, slight change. We shall go with Mr. Gregors first, then Mr. Indra. Okay, Mr. Gregors, I shall share your screen.
Thank you very much. Can you see my screen and can you hear me? Can you hear me and see my screen?
I can hear you. I don't know about the others.
Okay, and you can see my screen as well? Okay,
yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I will talk a bit about being a bicycle commuter in the tropics. And I have lived and bicycled in Kuala Lumpur for more than 10 years. And it was quite an interesting journey, so I will tell you about that. And I can also just say that this is very authentic because I just bicycled to the office and I actually meant to go and shower before this webinar, but we had some technical issues, so I didn't get to do that. But then you can see my bright t-shirt, which is a good idea to wear, so you are seen in traffic. So I'm basically from Denmark, which is sort of the bicycle capital of the world, together with Amsterdam. My commute in Copenhagen, the picture on the left, is quite different from my commute in Kuala Lumpur, the picture on the right. And that's actually an actual photo where I sort of had to filter to the right to make a right turn, so not so easy. Let me see if I change my screen. Yep. All right, so a bit about myself. So in Denmark, we cycle a lot. So that means, like most Danes, I've been a cyclist all my life. And I started commuting to work in about 2007 in Kuala Lumpur. And I've been advocating bicycling as a key to the future urban transportation. And at some point, I decided to share that cycling is actually possible. So I've uploaded quite a few videos to this YouTube link. And you can go and explore that further. So I have two bicycles that I basically use. I have a folding bicycle, the small image you see there, which is quite practical because sometimes you can cycle to work, but then maybe at night when it's dark, it's not so safe or practical, or maybe it rains, and you can fold up your bike and put it in a taxi or in a car. And then I also have an electric cargo bike that can carry up to 100 kilograms. So it's quite fun to use and even to give people rides. But the real purpose is that you can actually transport a lot of things, heavy groceries, you can go to IKEA or whatever, and therefore it can actually serve the purpose of a car in many cases. See if I can change it again. Okay, so in Copenhagen, everyone cycles. Here's a few photos. The lady on the left is one of our members of parliament, and on the right, this is actually the one in the blue jacket is the future queen of Denmark, who's giving one of her friends a ride in a cargo bike. My own story when I first came to Kuala Lumpur in 2005 was that I was a bit intimidated by the traffic. So basically, I didn't see any bicycle lanes, and I was like, there's no way I'm gonna bicycle here. The traffic seemed crazy, the climate was very hot and humid, and there were no bicycle paths. So for the first 2 years, I didn't cycle, which was quite unusual for me. And I had to get a car, which was it was the first time in my life I had to get a car, which was not something that made me very happy. But then I bought a bicycle after 2 years, actually one manufactured by Proton, the Malaysian car maker. And I found out that it was actually possible to cycle in Kuala Lumpur after my initial shock. I basically found out that if I choose my roads carefully, so that means I don't go on roads with fast traffic, because I think the biggest risk is to be hit from behind by a car that doesn't expect you to be on the road. And I also don't like to go on narrow roads where cars cannot pass me easily, so you might be sort of run off the road. And then try to be as visible as possible with lights and bright clothing. So over the years, I've been uploading some videos. I think you will have to play them on your own because there's just too much lag in this online platform. And I shared the link to the slides in the Q&A. But basically, I have this Brompton on the left. So normally the perspective is this chest camera where you can see how I'm steering through the traffic. And on the right, I'm riding this little folding electric bike, which is a lot of fun and also folds very fast, so you can carry it onto the train or the bus. And what I also liked about that bike is that it looks so cool and different. So cycling, which in this part of the world is seen as poor man's transport, unfortunately, with this little neat bicycle, it turned the tables and people thought it was really cool. And actually, you would rather sit on that bike than maybe in a car. So I think that's also one of the important aspects of promoting cycling is that it becomes socially desirable and acceptable. Here's another image of my cargo bike, which one of my colleagues or ex-colleagues is riding. And then one of my popular videos on the right is how I was going through traffic in Kuala Lumpur, and where I did the trip in 24 minutes, whereas my friend who did the same trip took 90 minutes. And then, of course, with a folding bicycle, you can combine with a train. So I've uploaded some videos about that as well. And the video on the right, I did a review of the sort of a bicycle lane that was established in Kuala Lumpur. But it went up on the sidewalk, as you can see here, with this blue tracks, and the sidewalk, of course, you will have pedestrians. So I think a lot of the aspects of that bicycle path didn't really work, and I sort of do a review of that. And speaking of bicycle infrastructure, I think there's a quite good chart which you see here on the right, which I think can be used in most cities, where you basically look at the velocity of traffic along the x-axis and how many cars per day is riding on that road. And depending where you land in this chart, you can see whether you need a bicycle lane that is separated, physically separated from the traffic, or whether you don't need a bicycle lane, like down here at the mixed traffic. And along highways, okay, you have to separate completely. So I think that's a good indicator for infrastructure planning. And then the climatic factor, I think the former speaker talked a bit about that. So my commute to work is 9 kilometers, and my office is at the top of the hill. So I definitely need a shower. And most offices don't have a shower, but I found out that for just about $12 US, you can retrofit any toilet in Malaysia and probably also Indonesia into a shower cubicle, because you have the bidet hose, and if you buy a split valve and mount that, you can put back the original hose, but then you can buy your own longer showering hose. So this way you can actually easily make a toilet cubicle into a shower. Not ideal, but it works okay. And actually the management in my building eventually decided to build a proper shower after I had tested them for 4 years. What about safety? I think the climate is not really the main issue. I think it's more safety, and there's some surveys done in Malaysia that also indicate that safety on the roads is the #1 deterrent for not cycling. And people often tell me I'm crazy to cycle and I won't live long, but I actually normally reply that on the contrary, by getting exercise, I'm adding years to my life. So cycling is actually quite healthy, and therefore you actually will live longer if you don't get in a bad traffic accident, of course. So given the current state of cycling infrastructure in Kuala Lumpur, I wouldn't recommend anyone to cycle, but I've been cycling all my life, so I feel fairly confident on the roads, but for the masses to start cycling, we need the roads to be safer. And also cycling saves money. So a study out of Denmark, my home country, showed that every time you cycle 1 kilometer, you actually save society $1 US compared to if you had been driving a car. And the main benefit is that you simply become more healthy. You are less of a strain on the National Health Service. But if you cycle and get exercise, you are also more productive at work. So that also helps. You have less sick leave and you live longer. So imagine if you bicycle about 10 kilometers to work like I do, and 10 kilometers back, that is $20 US per day that I save society. Of course, that's in Denmark, so out here it might be a little bit less, but that's worth taking into consideration. And in Kuala Lumpur, 1 million hours are wasted every day in traffic. And I'm sure in Jakarta it's much worse. It's also a bigger city. So that comes with a huge cost. In Malaysia, it's about 15 million ringgit per day. So in US dollars, I think there's about 15 million US dollars per day. Most of that is simply from wasting time, but there's also environmental harm and fuel wastage. And in fact, we are subsidizing this crazy congestion because fuel prices are artificially low. So the World Bank did a study about 5 years ago and said that the real price of petrol, if you factor in all this wastage and harm, should be about $1 per liter. And currently the price in Malaysia is only 1/3 of that. So artificially low. And where are all these people going? Well, crazily enough, some of them are actually on the way to the gym to sit and ride a stationary bike. So wouldn't it be great if we could just put in some bicycle infrastructure and people could just commute by bicycle, and then we could have less congestion and you could save your money on your gym membership. Then there's this freedom of the car. So this is a cartoon that was made back in the 1980s. And it's still relevant today in Denmark, but it also is relevant for Southeast Asia. So the ultimate ideal is to get your car, then you've really made it, right? And Denmark and Amsterdam and so on, they have also gone through that, where the cities was just cluttered with cars, and then people just revolted and say, we don't want this. It's it's not a good quality of life. We want infrastructure for bicycles and pedestrians and public transport. So basically, you spend about 1/4 of your salary to own and operate this car. So that's sort of the freedom of the car. And of course, a lot of people would like to avoid this burden. And for example, in Manila, there was a survey done where 80% of those who actually cycle there say that they do it because they can save cost on transport. So how do we then make cycling a real option? And I think if I sort of have the number one item on my wish list is to basically have better connection between the suburbs where people live and let's say the center of city where a lot of people work. So this is what I mean, that's where we sort of need these bicycle corridors and connectors, and to incentivize people to do so. I think that it could be interesting to launch something that I call Bicycle and Makan. So basically, if you cycle to work to the city, and there will be some bicycle hubs in there with showers and bicycle repair and so on. Once you arrive at one of those bicycle hubs, where you can have your breakfast, cool down and take a shower, and then go or roll to work from there, then you are served a free meal. And of course, that could be a healthy meal as well. So once you give out something for free, that has a big appeal. And I think that would definitely grab a lot of media attention. And that could help to sort of really spur a bicycle commuting culture. So in my concluding remarks, I'm basically saying let's make dreams come true. And there's a very good quote by the member of parliament in Denmark, where he said, "The world has 3 major problems: climate change, congestion, and obesity and the obesity epidemic. The bicycle is the answer to all three of them. So if we decide to improve the bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure, it would have the following benefits to our cities. It would make the cities more livable. And I think my own Kampong Copenhagen is a good example of that. It's one of the most livable cities in the world now. And it's largely because we managed to get rid of all those cars and make it so pedestrian and cycling friendly. By putting in that infrastructure, you also give people an alternate and cheaper transport option, which is always popular. Cycling is so much more energy efficient, so you vastly reduce energy consumption and the carbon emissions, and therefore also you help on the climate change. You reduce air pollution, and I think now with COVID-19 we've all experienced how our cities could be if we reduce driving, because the air quality just improved so much in many of our cities. So in Copenhagen, for example, more than 50% of people commute by bicycle. So that, of course, greatly helps on the air quality. And it could be like that here as well. And I forgot to mention, with regard to the hot and humid climate, electric bicycles, where you get a push from the electric motor, can actually help you to get around without sweating much. So therefore, the climatic issue can be resolved with electric bicycles. Bicycles don't make noise, so no noise pollution, which is also a major problem for cities. Lastly, you improve public health, which is very important. There's a obesity epidemic going on in Malaysia and in much of Southeast Asia. So basically, if you make the bicycle commuting convenient and safe, then the people will use it. That's my firm belief. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gregers, for the presentation. We are receiving tons of questions currently, but we'll answer at the end of the session. As per my announcement, the webinar shall end a bit later today by 12:30 p.m. we hope. And now we continue with Mr. Indra from the city of Surabaya.
Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Wait a minute, I'm gonna share my screen.
All right.
Wait a minute. Still not. Okay, hello.
Okay, Indra, I'm sharing your screen to the audience now.
Okay. Please wait a little bit. I'm sorry, the network is really bad today. Oh my.
Okay, while we're waiting for Mr. Indra to upload share his screen, is it okay, Mr. Indra?
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I'm sorry.
Maybe we can tend to some Q&As, the questions provided. Okay. There's one question to Mr. Gregors from Mr. Deep Kumar. Do you think the new KL structure plan addresses this issue of bicycle infrastructure?
I have not read it in detail yet. I think a lot of the aspirations in the structural plan are the right ones, but it's quite short on detail. I need to see a bit more detail on that once before I can really comment back on that. But on that note, I'm actually one of the stakeholders in the Kuala Lumpur Master Plan for cycling and pedestrian networks. And that work is ongoing. It's going a bit slower than we had hoped. Hopefully we can get something useful out of that. Last thing I saw was they tried to connect to the suburbs, but again, the devil is in the details.
All right. Okay.
Still not work.
Okay, Mr. Indra, I'll share your presentation via my screen. Is it okay with you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll mute my mic and
I'm sorry.
you speak and just inform me when shall we share move the presentation, right?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry for the inconvenience, guys. Okay. It's already. Hello, all. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah. Hello, all. Hello, Mr. Afik, Mr. Gregors, and Mbak Fani. It's really nice to meet you here. Thank you, ITDP and SEDA Malaysia, for the chance for me to share my opinion and ideas about normalizing cycling in Indonesia big cities. My name is Indra. I am from Surabaya City, the capital of East Java Province. I am a city and cycling enthusiast. Back in 2016, me and two of my friends co-founded CYCLISTS, a cycling initiative in our town in order to make more people cycling. I'm an entrepreneur myself, running through small and medium enterprise right now, and also working as a freelance creative. Okay, before we go far, let me tell you a little bit about Surabaya. The first three slides of my presentation will show you what Surabaya look like. Maybe the first one, you can see Surabaya is a big city. We are labeled as the city of heroes historically. In the first slide, you see the neighborhood area. It's really dense because Surabaya basically is kampong or villages that become a city, and then so it really dense with a small road and hills. And the second presentation, the slide that you see right now, it's Surabaya 45 or 50 years ago. The photo on the left is our city hall, and on the right is somewhere in our industrial area. It's basically really normal. You can see bicycle all around. People go everywhere. And then Surabaya is famous because we have a lot of icons. You might know our mayor, Miss Tri Risma Harini, and then you also know about our famous football team, Persebaya, and also the Suramadu Bridge, the bridge that connecting the Java Island and Madura Island. But one thing that people usually complaining about Surabaya is about the heat. Not many people who first come to Surabaya can stand with the heat. It's really hot here. Even last year was the hottest that I ever felt since I was moved here 15 years ago. The air conditioner was beaten by the heat of the sun. And then of course arising a question: what kind, with that kind of heat, do people really cycling here? The answer is yes. People actually cycling here. And also there is other cities, Bandung, Yogyakarta, and Jakarta. It's also from 45 and 55 years ago. You can see that it is really, the road is filled with cyclists, with citizen cycling, with cycling citizens. Okay, you can go to the next, Mr. Afik. Mr. Afik?
Yes, yes, I've gone to the next slide on the Surabaya nowadays, right?
Yes, yes. Okay, thank you very much. Now, this is the current Surabaya situation. This is taken at Jalan Panglima Sudirman. Well, you can see automobiles everywhere. You can only see one bicycle, one cyclist there, an old man, and also motorbikes that using the sign. Our pedestrians is not really good because you can see it's really small with trees around. That's the current situation here, but I think it's also the situation in other city as well in Indonesia, not just in Surabaya. This is our normal. This is how normal look like here. Well, not many people cycling in the daylight, but the pandemic causing a lot of people cycling at night, actually. Okay, you go to the next slide. Hello, Mr. Arvik. Okay, so where are actual? Where are the cyclists actually? I will divide cyclists to three types of cyclists. There are sports cyclists, leisure cyclists, and also daily cyclists. You can separate them easily by their attributes, their gears, their the way they cycling, the routes. But the third type, daily cyclists, they won't call themselves a cyclist actually. They are just cycling citizens. For them, cycling is a mobility option. Cycling is the way they go from A to B to C and etc. So, but ironically, the cyclists that were taking the road today is mostly sports cyclists and leisure cyclists. Yeah, they are on the streets in peloton. They ride together or just at the weekend, mostly using helmets, and some using helmets, others not. But basically, for the daily cyclist or cycling citizen, there is not a lot of people that do that. Okay, can you please to the next slide? Actually, there is a lot of reason why that is happened, but I will share you four main reasons that causing the cycling in Indonesia is just become a hobby or a sports and leisure activity. The first one is cycling as a ceremonial icon. Whenever an institution, mostly government, have anniversary or have an event, there's always cycling event. Ironically, there's not a lot of parking lot in their office. And then cycling as a promotional event. Well, here there is a lot of event called fun bike. Actually, we usually held in the weekend where people can get prize when they come and join the event. It's not good because it's motivate people to cycling just for the prize. They don't do it in any other days. And also cycling as a special and exclusive activity. Yeah, it is a little bit not convenience for us who use the street, even for the car user or motorbike user, because somehow when the cyclists with the special and exclusive, they use for rider or they use police to help them clear the road for them, and it's not the way mobility used to be happen in our city. And then the last one is bicycle companies didn't advertise like car or cigarette company. Advertising causing creating our culture. Advertising creating our mindsets. It direct us to purchase products. But it's been a long time since I was seeing bicycle advertising in television or in other media. Even though there is a lot of advertising on social media, it's not advertising that really convincing. If you see the car advertising or the cigarette advertising, making people want to buy the product, want to look cool because of that. But the bicycle company didn't do that. Yeah, and it's really sad actually. Okay, next slide, Mr. Rafiq. The first one is on the left is the Indonesian Central Bank from their 66th anniversary, and the third on the right, the three others on the right is the ceremonial event where they grand opening toll road. Ironically, that is the only time the cyclists can use the toll road. There are the event held by the government private company. Yeah, this is the situation that we're facing actually today. Okay, next slide. So, what is actually normalizing cycling? Cycling. So the normal is cycling as daily habits, as a form of mobility. It's not cool, not special in any way, just common, normal, and used by all structures of citizens, just like in Netherlands and Copenhagen. There we can see that the Prime Minister of Denmark, the Prime Minister of Netherlands, it's all using cycling, using bicycle to go everywhere. The lecturers, the students, the rich, and also the poor, they all using bicycle for their transportation. So there it is normal. So here it should be also normal, just like that. It's not cool, not special. Then we have to make it happen like that. Okay, next. So the question is, how can we normalizing cycling here in Indonesia? Well, it's a work for all. Actually, the government providing the infrastructure, creating a related law to help the cyclists, and also the business and institution supporting cycling as a mobility option, providing bike access and parking in their facilities, and also community and NGO can creating programs to promote cycling as mobility. So it's basically work for all. If just one part that work, it won't happen. So basically, it's need the work for all. It's a work for all. Okay, next, I will give you an example how the practice of bicycle campaign in community, because that's what I do, that's what I know. So hopefully it will help you to understand well. So this is the event created in Bandung and Surabaya. The first one, Surabaya, the top two is Surabaya, and under that is from Bandung. So the key to create cycling campaign program is to understand the city and citizens' culture. So knowledge in psychology, sociology, anthropology, mass communication, and design can play a big part to create the program. Surabaya cycling campaign program by CYCLISTS that I created 4 years ago. we are using the concept of know your city with cycling, because we know that Surabaya people is really proud with the city. We have enormous proud to the city. We really love the city, so that's why we engage them with ask them to cycling, to let them know there is a lot of place that they didn't know in the city. So that is the central concept. And the best part is also we are involving Bonek, the Persebaya supporter, as the city biggest community for the campaign and programs. It's actually tricky because Bonek or football supporters usually only talk about football, but for Bonek in Surabaya, they are also engaging with social activities. So we get, why not? So when we approach them, we approach some of the leaders of Bonek. They support us, and they tend to cycling everywhere. But right now we're trying to get the supporters to go to the stadiums by bike. But actually the problem is the distance between the city to the stadium is really far, 30 or 40 kilometers away, because the stadium is on the west side of the city, outside the urban area, and already near to Gresik, our neighborhood city. And then the two posters on the from Bandung Night Ride, and also Bosek ke Tempat Kerja is also it's a cycling campaign program by Eco Transport Indonesia, engaging with the city creative and fashionable culture, because in Bandung people like to be creative, people like to be fashionable, and that's why they involve photographer, also city communities, to fill the street with fashionable cyclists. So they want to make cycling as normal as possible by using that by compromising with the culture of creativity in Bandung. So their main program are Bandung Night Ride every Wednesday, and also every Friday Boseh ke Tempat Kerja, or in English Bike to Work. So that's Boseh is Bandung terms for cycling. Okay, next, Mr. Afik. So can we do more? Of course, we can do more to make cycling normal in Indonesia, but we have to change our mindset first before creating the campaign, so we can help to make cycling as normal as possible. So the first one is creating cycling even with no price. So people that join in because they want to ride a bike, not because of the price. And also creating cycling as mobility content in social media. The digital campaign can be a really good force nowadays. We can use Instagram, we can use YouTube, also we can use maybe TikTok, the current social media hits. Also, business must also involve creating cycling product for mobility and creating ads for that. Bicycle companies should be brave enough to engage with the ads made by automobile company, because if they don't do that, how can they sell products that help mobility, right? So I think if the bicycle company can create ads that making people want to ride a bike in daily life, I think it will be great, because somehow Indonesian people easily influenced by the ads. And also the fourth one is government or related institution must stop giving excuse to specializing cycling activity, like giving the police to guard the cyclists, or making is as a ceremonial icon. It's good for some Peningkai cycling as a sport and hobby, but not mobility. So yeah. So the last one is we have to make sure that everyone see bicycle as normal as it can every day, on the streets, on the parking lot, at the cafe, at the mall, at the market, at the cinema, everywhere. Well, you can do it too. So Bandung and Surabaya actually are really different cities in terms of weather and landscape. Bandung is cold with mostly ups and down streets, so it's hilly. Surabaya is hot with mostly flat street, but the challenge to how make people cycling is the same. Because whether it's hot or cold, rainy or sunny, people are actually able to cycle. And for mobility reason, no one is really cycling all day long. They can and they will manage their time. And cycling citizens have a better time management. So I think the cycling is not because of the weather, but mainly because of the willingness, the behavior, and the cultures that what we face to create a cycling campaign. Like I said before, it will be a work for all. You can also take part. You can use the ideas here, or we can discuss it later. You can do cycling in your city, so let's just make it happen. Thank you very much, and see you on the street cycling.
Thank you, Mr. Indra, for the presentation.
Yes.
I believe now let's move to the Q&A session. Let me just share my screen for a while. Okay. Let's see the questions. Okay, this is from an anonymous person. The question is based on ITDP's observation. Based on ITDP's observation, wait. Okay, based on ITDP's observation, Mr. Raymond's daily experiences, how significant is climate or weather has been used to argue against using bicycle as a mode of transport? Let's say we have the infrastructure and all, like say Singapore, but people are still reluctant to cycle. How do you think can we break through this wall so that people are encouraged to ride? Maybe we can start with Ms. Fani. Please unmute your microphones, my dear presenters.
Hi, yes. So let's say we have the infrastructure and all, but people still reluctant to cycle. Okay, so actually, I think one of the focus that when we want to like providing the facilities to the people, the bike facilities to the people is to identify the needs. So actually not all people want to cycling like for 10 kilometers to 14 kilometers straight from home to their work or offices and or school. Most of the time they just need to cut their distance from home to the nearest public transport, which is like probably in cities in Indonesia, especially in Jakarta, because Jakarta is already have like a massive public transport system. From the residential to public transport station is actually can be reached from like 1 to 2 kilometers, which is actually pretty far for people if they take a walk, but also it's actually not very far if they can have like the alternative mode transport that can like fastening their paces. So actually, bikes is one of the mode transport that we recommended, not only for a long distance, but also for to complete the first and last mile from and to public transport. So actually, it's maybe one of like the things that we need to identify first. What is the needs and how this bicycle can help them to shorten their distances and also shorten their amount of time in the road for activities. Yeah, I think it's from me.
All right, Ms. Fani. I think we'll move to the next question. I think this question is also relates to us, the project, because we're having a bike sharing program where we share electric bikes with a few agencies. So this question by Mr. Asatip: do you think the use of electric bike hybrid with manual cycling is good for the tropics? Since tropical countries are hot normally and we will sweat during cycling, in order to reduce the sweating and discomfort, the use of assisted pedaling by an electric motor will ease the load, especially cycling at hilly terrain. Anyone, Mr. Gregors, Mr. Indra, or Ms. Fani, want to comment on this?
I think I can answer this one because I have an electric bike. So yeah, I think electric bikes that what's called pedal assisted. So you still have to put a bit of power yourself, but it will give up to, let's say, 75% of the power. Is a great invention for the tropics, because if you have to go for a meeting in the middle of the day where it's really hot, you will definitely sweat if you cycle normally. But with this kind of electric bike, you can, even with a light pedaling, you can get anywhere, even uphill, without sweating. So I think it's a great invention. Personally, I would never have bought an electric bike in Denmark because the climate is cool enough, so you don't need it. But in Malaysia, on the tropics, where it's so hot and humid, I bought it because you can get that extra relief, and so you can arrive at meetings without sweating.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gregors. I think this question is for Mr. Indra from Daisy Harry. I'm interested to know about the Bose to Kerja. How was this initiative started? Is there a community champion, or is supported by the government, or local government, or private entity? Mr. Indra, can you help to answer this question on Bose to Kerja? You must unmute your microphone first, Mr. Indra.
Unmute. Okay, hello.
Okay.
Okay, Daisy, thank you for your question. So Bose to Kerja is actually initiated by the Eco Transport Indonesia. You can check them on social media. There are actually there is it's actually a community program at first, and then the what is called the transportation division of the Bandung city supported. So the government actually supporting the program, and it's actually started in 2016 until now. It's I heard that it will be activated again soon because the pandemic in Bandung city already cooled down. So yeah, if you want to know the community champion for this, it's Eco Transport Indonesia. So basically the Bose to Kerja is initiated by 12 people from a lot of background. They are some people as a journalist, also event manager, also the head of a government authority. They write together. At first they start with 10 people, and then they right now basically 50 to 60 people joining in the ride every Friday morning. That's how the story of Boseh to Kerja. Mr. Rafiq?
All right, thank you, Mr. Indra. Okay, I need to publish this question. Okay. All right. Okay. I think I give this to Ms. Fani. Is there any bike share facility provided? If yes, does it help encourage people to cycle? If there's any cities in Indonesia under ITDP's cooperation with them, Ms. Fani?
So yeah, we are actually the first public bike sharing that implemented in cities in Indonesia is actually the one that Mr. Indra mentioned before. It's Boseh, because it's funded. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Indra. It's funded by the city officials, Bandung city officials, and then the public can using it. I think for free. So in Jakarta, we have this one operator of bike sharing, but unfortunately, they can only operate in the satellite cities, not yet in Jakarta, because the main problem is the bike parking. So the business team and also the bike parking is still the main obstacles, because if they want to deploy the bikes in a public space such as pathway, sidewalks, or even like in station, they need to get the permission from the city officials. So actually, this year, before the pandemic, we proposed the recommendation about bike sharing using the public bike sharing scheme. So it will include in transit integration in Jakarta, but unfortunately, because of the pandemic, it postponed, and we are now trying to approaching another ways on how this bike sharing can be implemented during the pandemic. Furthermore, because of the budget is allocated for the COVID-19. So, but the operator is still you still can use their services, but not in Jakarta's area, more like in the satellite cities and residential areas. Yes, that's from me.
It's the Transport Science Society.
Okay, this is from Mr. Mohaimin. I was quite surprised Indonesia has an institute of research on transportation. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Fani, ITDP Indonesia office covers the Asian and Asian is the ASEAN region, correct?
Yeah, we also handled ITDP Indonesia handling Southeast Asian projects too. Yeah.
Okay. This question: does Malaysia have a similar organization as a Malaysian? With my limited knowledge and experience, it's done by a few agencies focusing on several aspects of transportation. Before this, we used to have the Land Public Transport Authority (SPAD), but now it's with MOT, becoming an agency. And Plan Malaysia also does some research on transportation too, and also by MITE, if you're familiar. I hope that answers Mr. Mohaimin's question. This question from Bram: how true is the statement that policies supporting car dependency is in line with government seeking money from sales tax, especially developing countries? Has there been any study showing cycling can also move the economy and thus revenue from tax? Is there any studies done by ITDP regarding this matter? Fani, or from Mr. Gregers, if you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think we haven't we didn't have the study about the whole complete study showing cycling can also help move the economy. But during this pandemic, is actually can be see clearly, like I mentioned before, because of the increase of the bicycle user, the bike store, bike workshop is now filled with people who wants to repairing their bike, buying their even like buy the new bikes. And also I think it's opportunity for the bike sharing company or operators to like providing their services, because probably more people will also want to like cycling, but the main obstacle is they don't have the bike. So bike sharing is actually can provide the modes. So it can be like a shifting like not the shifting is, it can be like another opportunity like for the economic sectors. And as I think I forgot to mention about how the bike sharing can like boosting the bike users, is actually we have trial. We trial. I think last year we implemented the bike sharing in Monas, in closed area. Monas is like a landmark of Jakarta. The bike operator deploy like 100 bike, and the visitor can use it for free. And we got because they are using the app, so we can pull the data from the apps, and it show a very huge number of usage. We have a standardization about the bike sharing on how it considered as to be successful. I forgot the number, but it's beyond the standardization, the number of the usage per day in that particular area. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Mr. Gregors, I think last thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think cycling has a great economic incentive, because you avoid so many health problems, you avoid so much congestion, and also building a bicycle lane is so much cheaper than having to build another freeway. So I think we have to look at it like that. I'm not aware of any studies here in Southeast Asia showing that, but that's just, I think quite self-evident. So yeah, so that's my comment on that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gregors, Ms. Fani, Mr. Indra, for the content shared today with the audience. I'm sorry I have to close the Q&A session. However, we'll compile the Q&A, and at best we hope to compile it and summarize it in then we will email to all the registered participants. The recording shall be edited and uploaded in our website soon, and we will share also the presentation material of our presenters. Apologies for the delay and for the spillover until 12:49 p.m. We hope, please pray for us. We are trying to organize another session, something like this, Cycling in Tropics, but we want to bring other speakers, maybe local governments from Malaysia and other institutes to speak on their experiences on cycling in tropics. Thank you very much, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Have a good lunch. Stay safe. Follow the SOP by the government, and cycle responsibly. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, cycling.
Right. Thank you.
You're fine.